All right, all right, all right. Welcome in. Toilets to Titles. This is episode number 113, and this is our yearly Frankenstank Listener League round table discussion. And this is year 3 of the Frankenstank Listener League, and Toilets to Titles is growing. The league is growing, and there is a lot to discuss. We got new listeners. We got to get them caught up to speed with what we got going on with this listener league so we can keep this monster growing. And with me to discuss this stuff this evening, I'm going to start off with the guy who's been with me since day one, my main man, the birthday boy himself. His birthday's coming up. Justin Stevens at JustinFF_Justin. What's cooking? Oh man, he's got the Ethernet, but he's muting. He's muted.
Hey, all right. Hey, busy show. I'm excited about this show. Last season, it was one of our more popular shows. When you were talking about introducing us, I figure we may as well introduce Chris's videos down here, popping in to say hello. He's been on almost every episode, it seems like, for the last several months. Appreciate your support. And then also, you said been with you since day one. I kind of thought maybe you were going with Rich down there, who was pretty much with us since day one, like as a listener, but no. So I'm excited. It's all kind of coming together for another big season of Frankenstank. We got some pretty awesome stuff that we're going to be talking about this episode. Hopefully some big changes and some big rules. Even if it's not something that you like, even if it's a rule you don't like, it's different. It's a change. You know, this is a league that is built around being different and ever evolving. So tonight we get to see the next evolution.
Yes, I love it. And he already kind of introduced him to Frito Bandito at Frito Bandito FF. Is that it, Rich? Do I got it correctly yet? It's brand new. You got this new Twitter handle a few weeks ago, so I'm still getting down. Rich, how we doing?
Doing good. I'm excited to get on tonight. Freaking talk about the league that I should have won this year, but got sniped by sevens. So now excited, man. I love this league. I wish I had more leagues like this. I wish more leagues would evolve to this because it just makes it more exciting.
Man, more monsters. I don't know what the world would be like with some more monsters, man. So, but we wanted to kind of inspire and influence others to go down this sort of pathway. So that's been our goal. And hopefully, maybe this will. I've already heard a few people tell me, they've copied our scoring settings and created their own. And to me, that's, even if one league did that, to me, that's absolutely awesome. Like that fires me up. But we'll get more into the details about the league. I want to continue introducing the guys from Toilets Titles, the guys who are going to be guesting this evening. And we got Joe at Joe. I'm drawing a blank. What is it? Joe C. What's your Twitter handle?
J_Clark.
Okay, it's hard because usually we have the little blurbs under each of our names, but when there's 5 of us, they're all gone, and my brain's fried. It's the time change always. The time change always blasts me, and it takes me about 10 days to recover. And my brain is fried right now. But Joe, how we doing?
Good. I usually don't use my Twitter handle anyway. I usually just go with Joe or Joe knows. So, but everything's good, man. I'm happy here to talk about Frankenstank. Just so everyone knows, I did come in second place last year, and I was a rookie. It was my first year last year. And I will say this, if you're listening...
He's a sandbagger. Joe is a sandbagger. He's been sandbagging us since day one.
I don't know anything about fantasy football. What's this fantasy football stuff? But you know what? As we go along in the video and we talk about the rules and we explain what the league is about, it might sound intimidating. I mean, I did it last year for the first time, and I think I listened to like 2 or 3 rules. I'm like, I don't understand this. Whatever. It's inexpensive anyway. I'm in, and I'll learn as I go along. I'll be better prepared for next year. It's actually pretty easy, and you kind of learn as you go along pretty quickly. You can always ask questions. Questions are always answered as you go along. It's really not, and the draft itself was a lot of fun, which we'll get into. Draft, you can't say draft day, draft days.
Yes, it takes a while.
Global.
It is global. There is definitely a process. This thing is definitely a monster, and I give Justin a lot of credit for putting up with all my nonsense. It was just him who had to deal with all my Frankenstank like crazy rules and stuff like that when we started, and then a few people have picked up some of the burden to help us, input the scoring and all stuff like that.
Yeah, that's really why we brought Ben on, so that he could take some of the abuse.
Yeah. Ben and Campy. All right, let's pass it on. We got George Reed at George Reed FF with us as well. George, how we doing?
Doing absolutely fantastic this evening. I do want to point out that the only reason Joe came in second and he didn't actually win is because I took the year off last year and allowed everybody else to have an opportunity. It wasn't fair if I came in and just dominated from start to finish. So I stepped back. I let everybody else do their thing, and this year I'm going to take it all.
He's like the prodigal son. He was here year one.
Yep.
For Frankenstank, he
Good
dipped,
man, George.
and he paid. I believe he paid year two.
I did.
He contributed to the pot, and he's like, "That just take my money, but not my time." And year three, he's like, "I'm in it to win it." So
that's actually what I tell my wife: take my money, not my time.
That's it. I love it. All right,
Hey George, how'd you do that first year?
Sir, again. I wanted to allow everybody else to have the satisfaction of winning. I didn't mind looking up at everybody from the bottom. Like, that didn't bother me at all.
Man, I don't even know how I did year one, to be honest. I don't even know how I did this year. I think I stunk. But I know we got Dirty Jobs floating around in the background. If you want to poke your head in real quick and just say what's up at Dirty Jobs 21 on the Twitter.
What is happening, everybody? Yes, no, we're trying to hop in. Sorry, I'm kind of multitasking here, chasing around a little baby as we're speaking right now. You can hear her laughing because she thinks it's really funny that I'm trying to chase her. She's like, "You ain't even close, buddy." So we tried something new tonight, and it obviously did not work as far as the sleep pattern goes. We'll try again tomorrow. But doing good, man. I can't believe all the. What's that?
I'm not the only one fried from the time change.
Oh, dude, yep, nope. She's kicking my ass too. Like, she's all about it right there.
Awesome. Well, it's good to have you on. I'm sure we'll hear from you during the episode. So, guys, before we go into the scoring and the setting, because that's kind of what we're going to get into, we kind of teased a little bit of how this thing created, and I do want to give a little bit of a background to those of you who are new to the show. We're up to 435 subscribers on the YouTube. So check us out. Go to toiletstitles.com. You can go right to our YouTube from that page. You can just YouTube search Toilets to Titles. We're really trying to hit 450 by the time the NFL draft comes around. I'd love to top 500 by the time the next NFL season comes around. If you could, throw us a subscribe, throw us some comments, like some of our episodes. All of that stuff really helps us, and it helps get our content out to more eyes and to more ears. So now that we have more followers and subscribers that we've ever had, and this thing is getting to more people than it has ever gotten to before, we need to kind of discuss this, right? So the Frankenstank Listener League, we wanted to do a Listener League, and it seems like that's a generic thing to do. A lot of fantasy football creators and content creators, they have Listener Leagues. We wanted to do something. We wanted to create something that was different, right? That was like the main thing. I wanted to create something that was its own thing. I didn't want to do something generic. I wanted to do something that people would play in this league and they'd be, Frankenstank. Like when we thought of, I don't really know the process of how exactly we got that name, but I think it was because it was a monster. We were creating a monster, and we're Toilets to Titles and the stank. We just put the stank into that monster, and we wanted it to be something where people would play it, and it would, kind of like redraft, dynasty, Devi, like Frankenstank. Like we wanted it to be something that they knew what it was when they heard that name. And that's why we really got funky with the rules, right? So we wanted to create a monster, and we got into, vampire style settings, but vampire style, where if you don't know what that is, so when you win a game, you get to take a player from your opponent, but we kind of tweaked that. You know what I mean? You can only take a player, from their starting lineup, and we did a lot of tweaks. And then we also wanted massive multipliers. Like we wanted, as the player, like we wanted a monster game to be a monster game. Like after you get 100 yards, every yard after that is multiplied. After you have 2 rushing touchdowns, the next touch. So, all that stuff, when we do post this episode, I'll post a link to last year's page underneath the episode on the Twitter. So follow me at Coach Sheps or follow the show at Toilets to Titles. You'll see the show, and you'll be able to click that link on My Fantasy League, because that's what we use, and you'll be able to check out all the scoring rules, settings, all the nonsense. But Justin, what is kind of what were the original thoughts to building this thing, and then as it grew, and what do you think is a good foundation for this episode right here?
Well, well, for the record, I don't know. Can you see that? Is it sharing?
Yes.
Yeah, so just I'll go ahead and leave this up while I'm talking, but this is just a rundown of some of the points that you can see, and it's not going to make sense just from reading this. It's that wild, but maybe if you're super smart, you might be able to understand it. Also, if you're super smart and you have any IT background, we are looking to fill a role.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there, but yeah, so the Frankenstank Listener League, like for me, it was all about having fun in a very unique and different way. And when you came up with this original idea, your big thing was, let's make this different. Let's make this something that people will remember, something that's different and fun, and they'll want to come back and play. The gross majority of the people that played in the first season came back and played in the second season, and we've already heard from a ton of them that are ready to come back and play for the third season. So obviously we're on to something here. It is a lot of fun. Just like Joe said, it's definitely the most fun draft that you're ever going to have. That's for sure. It's a wild draft, and that's just where it starts. The playoffs also were super insane. We had 12 teams, I believe, make the playoffs out of the 36, and all of the other teams still got to play in a consolation tournament for a shot at getting a free entry into the league, which our boy Shane P. Hallam won. So
it's $25. So it's $25 to
Right.
enter. So he won himself, a $25 entry into year 3.
Right, and he beat me in the consolation tournament, by the way. So if we're gonna brag about second places, I got second place out of all the worst of us. So, but no, so yeah, absolutely insane. Love it, a whole lot of fun, and we'll get in a little bit more in detail in the rules. But as we're talking, I do have the site pulled up here if you need it.
All right, so George, you played year 1. So what were your original thoughts, and kind of, you've had a chance to look at how this thing evolved. You didn't play year 2, but if you've poked your head through the doc that we have that explain kind of the rule scoring and changing, like what are your initial thoughts, on the Frankenstank League?
So one of the things, honestly, that really kind of irked me about the first year is if you lost, especially coming right out the gate, like you were at a severe disadvantage, and you didn't get a player from the team that beat you, you wouldn't get a player from their starting lineup. It would always be one of their bench players. I believe year 2 that was corrected. And the only other thing I had an issue with, and I know it's going to be addressed later, is the wide receiver and the running backs. Like, they would score just very few points, where if you had a quarterback who had even a semi-decent game, like the quarterback would win the whole week for you.
Well, we messed up. So me and Justin are MFL gurus. So we had a vision of the huge scoring totals we wanted year 1, and luckily, Ben at Live from the Ben, co-host of Down Under Dynasty on the Toilets of Titles podcast network, he was able to take all of our scoring settings and throw it in. So year 2, that was corrected. And
Yep.
What George is talking about with taking your players. So the twist, why it's Frankenstank, is in regular Vampire League, I don't think it necessarily matters. You could take a quarterback every single week. But in our league, what makes it different is you have to kind of look at the schedule and project who you're going to take, because you're building a monster. And that monster is your lineup, right? So say it's super flex. So you have quarterback, you have the super flex, you have 2 running backs, believe it's 2 or 3 wide receivers, tight end. You can only fill that roster. So you can't take 3 quarterbacks, because you can't start 3 quarterbacks. You can't take 4 running backs. You can't take 5 wide receivers. You can't take 3 tight ends. So you're building that monster, and you kind of have to have a long vision as to, what it's going to be like. And George, the spirit of the rule originally was to give a starter, to take a starter. Year 1, I was the only idiot, I think, who was doing that, because I think I put it in the bylaws by accident. So I was given a starter, and then I went back and I looked, and everybody else wasn't. And then I forgot what the rule was, because I was the only one not doing it right. But yes, a lot of things changed. Year 1, it was 12 teams. Year 2, we evolved to 3 12-team divisions, and now we're year 5. We're evolving to 5 12-team divisions. I believe at this point we have like 28 spots to fill, because I think I've heard from like 3 or 4 people who aren't coming back. But other than that, I think we got like, 36 owners in there. But all right, I'm going to pass it down to Rich, the Frito Bandito himself. Rich, what are your thoughts on the Frankenstank League?
So from year 1 to year 2 and everything, I think the big conversation we had last year was the fact that the quarterbacks did score so much and how we wanted to have those running back and receivers score more to kind of compete with that and everything. And I'm looking down, I'm breaking down the score. I'm looking at the scoring individually by players and stuff. QB still outdid running backs and players and everything. Tom Brady, just to kind of show you how our settings are set in this, scored 885 points for the fantasy season. Compared, a regular league, you're looking at maybe 400 and stuff like that. But he scored 885. Non-QB Cooper Kupp, 665 points. So we jumped up where we did have those running backs and receivers do that, but the QB still stands out. And it's going to be like that in any league that you guys do and everything. QBs always outperform. But like I said, the premise is last year we tried to get those receivers and running backs to compete more, which they did and everything. But it never fails. QBs, they touch the ball every play of the game. So they're always going to have that uptick in scoring.
So already I'm sensing a theme. I think we're going to have to we're going to put a little more bonuses into the running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends to even it out. But Joe, I see you're chomping at the bit, man.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to kind of add to what Frito was saying, Frito Bandito. And that, I thought it was my first year doing it. And it was actually my first year doing any type of vampire league. And it was my first time ever doing a superplex as well. I remember I didn't even know what superplex was. And you guys were talking about superplex. I was embarrassed to ask what superplex. I'm like, I'll learn as I go. And
it just meant you had to do this when you set your lineup.
Yeah. I figured it out pretty quickly on my own anyway. Didn't take that much brain power, I guess. I had enough synapses working there. But you know what? I thought, listen, like normal superflex, Frankenstank, the strength of the quarterback, the power of the quarterback, it reflects the real NFL in today's game. And but I thought, in terms of, and I can't judge it against the first year because I wasn't in the first year, but going off of what George was saying, and it sounds like fair criticism for the first year, I thought overall you did strike a good balance, with the running backs, the wide receivers, the tight ends. I did think there was a good balance. The quarterbacks are still key, but you can put together some really good, running back core, really good running back core, wide receiver core, and you can compete. You're still going to need, at least one really good quarterback, but I thought it was a nice balance that was struck there.
So the thing about Frankenstank, one of the things about Frankenstank is scoring is important. Rosters and lineups are important, but like the league, the actual scoring, the actual games is only like a portion of this thing. Like the build up, the rock, paper, scissors. So we're going to get it. There's so much more to this league than the actual games that play and actually building the rosters. And I think that's another fun thing about it. But so the original league the original division was called Frankenstank. And when you join the league, you pick a name of a monster and you create a team name based off of that monster's name. Like mine was Wolfman Coverage. Justin, what was your team name? What is your team name?
The Phantom of the Gridiron.
The Phantom of the Gridiron. All right. So we were in the Frankenstank, and then, we were only 3 people at Toilets to Titles. And then we grew to, I want to say about like 7 or 8. So we spread out us 7 or 8 into 3 divisions last year. So it was Frankenstank, Creature from the Staff Bathroom, and then the Phantom of the Porta Potty. All right. Now this year we're at like 15. So now we're spreading out, and we got 5 divisions. We added Night of the Living Silent but Deadlies. All right. And then we added the Invisible Urinal. So these are the 2 other divisions that we need to fill. And we need Night of the Living Silent but Deadlies needs 8 members. The Invisible Urinal needs 9. And then we just have a few open spots in some of the other divisions. So me and Justin, we spent like, tireless nights discussing what we were going to call, these divisions. Like it was, we were brainstorming back and forth. And we landed on Night of the Living Silent but Deadlies and the Invisible Urinal. Justin, why don't you discuss the process, the whole draft process, like how it starts? I know we have a group meet chat and it's very important. Everyone's got to be in there. It's going to be chaotic this year. with what's 12 times 5? I can't do the math right now. I think
60.
it's 60. All right, thanks, George. So it's going to be a little more chaotic, and now luckily we have more members, so we can kind of distribute the weight of the chaos. But let's discuss the draft process.
Yeah, so I think this year we may have to have a chat for everyone, and then also each individual division may have their own chat as well. I feel like that's going to be almost needed, but because then each individual division will have a Toilets to Titles representative that can run their own damn rock paper scissors contest. But essentially, we start off with a rock paper scissors contest to determine the draft order, and we've done this a couple different ways. We did once where if you got second place, you had second option; third place got third option. That's what we did the first year.
That's called what the hell is that called? That style of drafting where you get to pick. It has to do something with horse racing. Can't think of the name right now, but there is a
derby style.
Maybe there's a terminology for that when you get to choose what slot you're in. But go on, I'm sorry.
Kentucky Derby style. I don't know, but then the last season, what we did was whoever won the rock paper scissors contest for their division got to choose the entire draft order for their division. So that one guy chose everybody's draft positions. So that's how we start off. We start off with the rock paper scissors contest to determine the draft order. Then in Canton, this past season anyway, in Canton, a few of us were there to represent our divisions in a Mario Kart competition to determine which drafts would start before others. And I apologize again to my division for my lack of Mario Kart ability. I'm trying to talk the group into Mario Party this time around because I feel like I'll have a much better feel on that game. But and it's a lot more luck as well, which I definitely need. But anyway, so that's how we determine what order the draft divisions we're going to start are going to draft in their and what order. And then the actual draft itself is pretty wild. So the actual draft, we start off, first round is rookies only. The first two rounds are rookies only, actually, and it's a snake draft. So you figured it's a redraft league, and you're trying to draft rookies only. We are slowly...
So now these things that you're going to state, this definitely goes into account when if you win the rock paper scissors competition for your division, you're looking at how this draft plays out to put yourself into position. So go on, Justin.
Yeah, do you want to be the guy that got Jonathan Taylor as a rookie, and that as that first overall pick, but then didn't have a very good two quarterback combo? Or do you want to be the guy that got a great two quarterback combo or a great quarterback to start with another great piece, but you got really crappy rookies that you didn't even use? So you kind of gotta make that decision. You got to choose the lesser of two evils or whatever. But anyway, so after the first two rounds, after the snake draft, after the second round, we reverse the draft order. We go back to the third round. So the 12th pick will have the first pick in the third round. And from there, it doesn't flip again. It just stays with the 12th guy having the first pick. And that is for non-quarterback veterans only. Is that right? Or is it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Non-veteran quarterbacks only. So
no, veteran non-quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah. Veteran non-quarterbacks. Veteran non-quarterbacks only. So that means rookies are out, which by then they're out anyway. You probably won't see another rookie drafted the rest of the draft. And all the quarterbacks are out, and it's a super flex league. But so that guy's going to get the number one top pick. In this case, this year, it's probably going to be Jonathan Taylor. So do you want that guy that's going to get that Jonathan Taylor? But then in the fourth round coming back, it is quarterbacks only. So that means if you got Jonathan Taylor, you got a couple mediocre rookies in the first couple rounds, and you're going to get the worst quarterback. But then after that run of quarterbacks, you're going to get probably the top super flex or the top of whatever's available going back the other way. So the 12th pick might be the pick, but also having that first pick and having the top rookie, but getting the best quarterback might be the way to go. So So
and then it opens. Then it opens up after that.
Yeah, it opens up after the fourth round, or after the fourth round. But anyway, the idea here is that you are also slowly building your monster one piece at a time. So you're starting off by building with rookies, and you're building with the head of the monster, which is not the head. The head of the monster is the quarterback, obviously. But you're just building piece by piece as evenly as possible across the board, and there's a whole lot of strategy involved in that, and no trades during the draft, no trades at all, unless we decide to change that tonight, which is something we'll be talking about.
Ain't happening.
I think it's on the list to at least discuss.
It is, but it's a firm no. No shenanigans. No shenanigans. There's too much. There's too much shenanigans already. The trades would make it too much shenanigans for us to handle. All right, so that's the draft. Before we get into some of the proposed items of discussion, is there anything we haven't touched on that you guys think we need to bring up? Go ahead, Rich.
So one thing we haven't mentioned too is this is tight end premium and everything. And as tight end premium as it was this past year, I really felt like it didn't really factor in as much. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
I'd have to go back and look at the scoring, but I'll take your word for it. If the tight ends, so if the tight ends, I can make a note. So, bump up scoring.
Yeah, unless it's like a heavy tight end premium, for the most part, like tight end doesn't really.
Yeah.
Like the premium doesn't really help it. It has to be a heavy tight end. Like if you went as high as 2 points per reception for tight end, okay, that would make a difference. But if you're keeping it a half point or 1 point even, like that's not going to be that great of an advantage.
So the only bonuses for the tight end, if they got they got 0.75 more per each reception, and 0.75 more for each first down.
All right, so here's something I want. Hear me out. If a player who's not a quarterback throws a touchdown pass, I want it to be like you basically win that week.
Well,
Cedric Wilson, 101.
Like
you can give that player the touchdown.
How about this? I don't know if this is possible. All right, maybe I'm getting too crazy. But you score points next week. If a player, like you score regular points for that week, but you get a bonus going into next week. This would be we would walk through a doorway that I don't know if it's ever been walked through. In Frankenstank, it hasn't.
I'm okay with that if you're volunteering to keep track of that.
How hard will it be to keep track of players that aren't quarterback that throw passing touchdowns? And maybe there's a way to. What do you got? I feel like
it would have to be something that you're going to have to manually input before the week starts.
Okay, if that's what it takes.
We should have had the guys from my fantasy league on here.
Yeah,
so that they could explain to you how.
What do you guys think about that?
It's an insane idea. I love it. I love the idea. I just logistically, I'm concerned.
I would just say you just give the player the touchdown. Say like Odell Beckham Jr. throws a touchdown to the quarterback in the end zone. Give Odell Beckham Jr. the points for the touchdown.
So you sound like a pharmacist, and we need to be mad. We need to be mad scientists right now, Joe. That was a regular pharmacy. Take your NyQuil, go to sleep. Yes, we're crazy. And
so if you really want to go crazy, right?
Yeah.
If any position other than a quarterback throws a touchdown, you get to take a player from your opponent.
An additional player. Okay.
Or stop them from.
That's more doable. That is more doable.
Or stop them from taking a player from you.
If you guys think telling me that it's not doable is going to be reason enough for me not to want to do it, that's not it.
No, we understand this, John. That's why we're trying to come up with other solutions.
Okay. I like where George is thinking, but I'm still leaning. So I think we could go that route with another way. I'm penciling this in.
So you get your choice. You can either prevent a player from being taken at any point in the year, or you could take another player from your opponent that you played that week.
Ooh, that would be rough. Like if in week 2 my running back throws a touchdown pass, and then I get beaten week 6, and I tell Joe, hey, I know you beat me, buddy, but nope, not happening. Micah in week 2 threw a touchdown pass, so stop her.
Yeah.
I like it. But also one of the few big complaints we got last season about this episode was that at the end we left too many things open-ended. Like we were just jotting down notes and just discussing what we might do, but then we never actually flat out said, hey, this is
so at the end we'll do a rundown.
Yeah, we need to do a rundown at the end and finalize it for these people. It's what they want. We're making decisions tonight. We're making it happen.
George, I like that. So if your suggestion about being able to block a player, like to have that as a card, like a get out of jail free card, even if I don't choose to use that for that specific thing, we're going to use that. I think that's great.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm going to nail it to, I don't know if I'm going to pin the tail on this donkey. All right. Yeah. But we're going to find a donkey to pin that tail on.
We might. Right? It's a great rule either way. So,
I like it. I like it.
But then that means that they would have to use it at the very least before the end of stealing players. So
yes.
Yeah. So you're still doing it before the playoffs, which is good. So that's good. I like it.
But what if you don't?
But then you lose it.
Free card.
Or
it's just like when you're on Survivor and you have an idol and they have a cutoff for those idols. If you don't use the idol before X date, it's no longer valid. It's now useless.
Speaking of no longer valid, nobody has watched that show in 20 years.
Sir, I watched every single episode. I don't want to hear that. I actually put an application in to actually try out for Survivor.
Danny McCray, Dallas Cowboys special teams great, was on Survivor.
I'd like to go on alone.
Listen, so what I also want to emphasize is what I like is the fact that we are making this crazy rule over something that is so far-fetched that doesn't happen very often. Like it doesn't need to make sense.
It happens enough though that it will be huge when it does.
Yes. I love it.
It would make an impact for sure.
Yeah, I love it. We're already we're cooking with gasoline right now.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to bump up.
Cedric Wilson's getting drafted high.
Yeah. 101.
Yeah. I mean, also you got to look at, if you really want to dive deep into this, you can look at tendencies of offensive coordinators and find the ones who tend to, do the crazy nonsense. Like down in Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence is going to catch a touchdown pass this year. With Doug Peterson.
They did it multiple times last year.
Pretty much all of the shitty teams. You got to figure those players in.
Yeah. Well, the Cowboys did it last year, so I
exactly.
Guess, all right. So we're bumping up the score for tight ends. We're doing some crazy nonsense with players scoring. All right. What else? What else we want to talk about? Does anybody have any suggestions right now that we want to throw out?
We need to dial down the deadline for submitting your stolen player, because that became a big issue this past year.
It's so hard though.
Yeah, I don't think we can dial it down, because I feel like if we're there with 60 people, if we bend, I feel like it'll be so hard to control.
So here's the problem we had with that is waivers run on Wednesday at noon, right? So our deadline for stealing players was Tuesday night at 9 p.m.
Right.
So if we go back on that, let's say we go to Wednesday morning, and we say,
why don't you fully explain what Rich is talking about, in case anyone's listening at home? Give some context as to what he meant.
So let's say Rich beats me in week 1, which is very likely because Rich was good at this and I have not been so good at this. So let's say Rich beats me in week 1 and he's going to steal one of my players. So he has a deadline as the way it was last season and the season before. The deadline was Tuesday night at around 9 p.m. So the start of our normal weekly show, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We had it set up that way because that gave us all night overnight to actually input those steals. And especially with 60 players, that gives us potentially 30 players being stolen each week. That gives us, that takes a little bit of time to go in and manually input all of those steals. Then we have it all done and set up and ready to go by Wednesday morning so that people can set their waiver wire pickups by Wednesday at noon. So if we dial back and say Wednesday morning is the deadline to put in on, because you have to put it into the message board on the league site to steal the player. if let's say if we wait until Wednesday at noon, well, then that means we now have to push waivers back, because what happens is if Rich is going to steal my quarterback instead of the running back that I thought he was going to steal, that's going to affect who I'm trying to pick up off of waivers. Plus, when he makes that steal, he may have to drop a different quarterback or a different position that he feels more strong at, that maybe I want to pick that guy up now off of waivers. Like, every time you change a roster or a lineup, you're going to change what's available in the free agency. So we got to give the people time to see what's on the waiver wire. So like I said, if we pushed it back, let's say we push it back to Wednesday at noon, now we got to push waivers back to, say, Wednesday night at 9 p.m. And then people are going to complain because it's too close to game time, or it was too far out. Everybody got to see practice on Wednesday, and I already knew that player was going to start. Like, there's just, I don't know. The more we push one thing back, we got to push everything else back. And now, granted, COVID isn't going to be an issue this season. They said that they're taking away all of the COVID requirements for now. But that was an issue for us too, also considering that there could be potentially Tuesday night or even Wednesday night games that was really going to throw all this off too. And that gave us a little bit of a buffer. And maybe they wanted to bump games up ahead of time. Like, who knows? We didn't know what to plan for. So
I feel like that was one of those rules that was, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type thing. You know, I mean, like, I understand there were some people that had some issues with the timing of it and everything like that. But I mean, to me, that's, I mean, that gives all the guys who are running the leagues plenty of time to get everything shifted. And like you said, get the waivers going. I feel like that Tuesday night deadline is fine. You know, honestly, every single week when I Frankenstanked this year, I knew, like, ahead of time exactly who I was going to be taking from your team if I won. I mean, and I set my lineups. It probably cost me my season because I'm like, oh, I can't beat you. I'm pulling all my good players off on my bench. And so I never played a good player this whole entire season, which is not the way to play the Frankenstank.
Right. That leads me to my suggestion that I had for this issue, and I completely forgot it until you mentioned that, Dirty Jobs. So Mike, sorry for those of you that don't know him, but so my suggestion for that was, what do you guys think about potentially naming before the games start who you intend to steal? Then you're also taking a chance. Like, if I intend to steal Zeke Elliott and then Zeke gets hurt that week, then I just stole an injured player. Like, it throws in another risky, like a risky decision. But you're staking your claim ahead of time, so that it also, like, it doesn't matter if that other guy starts him or sits him or not. Everybody's going to be playing their best lineups.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, George.
I say I'm not a huge fan of if you win, trading a healthy player away for an injured player. Like, I feel like you're being punished now for winning.
Yeah.
If you're trading for an injured player.
I like to shoot from the hip.
Which would happen if you.
Yeah, it most likely it would happen. Like, if I'm playing Mike and Mike says, all right, I'm going to take Jamar Chase from George if I win. And without a doubt, Mike's going to go ahead and beat me. But during the game, you know, Jamar Chase unfortunately tears his Achilles. Like, that's not fair to Mike now that he's got to take Jamar Chase and give me somebody that's healthy that I can actually use the rest of the season, because we have to pull from his starting lineup.
I think so I'm against it, but also us six are on. So we are the deciders.
Well, I'm honestly against
isn't a decider. But I think we could toy, if we wanted to go that route, we could toy with it and make exceptions.
The only reason I don't want to come up with it was because of what Rich said, because Rich is right. It was an issue for a couple of people.
Well, I mean, we're adults. Grow up, learn the rules and do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
I think it was an issue more in the beginning of this season when I think a lot of people thought it was the same deadline for both stealing and waivers. And I think that's where confusion was. I think the confusion there was less confusion as the season
coming from somebody who was confused.
Yeah, absolutely. But listen, like Dirty Jobs is saying, I actually didn't bother really deciding on who I was going to steal until after until my week's games were decided. You know, I didn't want to jinx myself. But damn, I knew pretty quickly once I looked at the opponent's lineup. It didn't take too much long. I spent
And then
more
you
time.
also probably looked at next week's opponent and
No.
who they played and if they won and what their
No.
lineup's going to look like. So there's, it's,
I didn't.
oh, I did.
No. Yeah, no. So I was just listen. It takes us pretty much takes 2 seconds. Maybe you'll have 2 players to decide from. But I spent more time probably on thinking about waivers and strategizing with waivers. How much you bet, or how much you're going to bet for the player, stuff like that. Who do I want? Who do I believe in? Than I did, actually picking my opponent's player.
So well, I do like the idea of posting who we're going to take ahead of time, but maybe do something along the lines of like, you have to post by Monday night who you want to take from your opponent. And then this way, most of the games of everybody playing each other is basically over by the Sunday night game because there's only one game left. So odds of that game being the deciding factor for a majority for all 60 people is going to be very, very low. Now, will it impact some people? Absolutely. But I already know if I'm looking at the roster, okay, I might take somebody that's, already played on Sunday that is healthy, regardless of the outcome of the Monday night game. Yeah. So, I think just having a spot or the ability to go in and say, hey, I want to take this player if I should win by Monday night, I think that would work. And then really you'd only have a couple of handful of people who may be deciding to take a player that played on Monday night.
Yeah, and honestly, the more I think about it, like I was in over 20 plus lineup setting leagues, and I was the guy that had to manually enter those trades for like half of the weeks. So I still had time to look at that lineup, that roster for 15 minutes and make a choice.
But one thing we could do this year to make it easier, that aspect of it, is whatever toilet tile members in each division, they're the ones that are making those trades for that division.
Right.
To alleviate just one person doing it.
And that's only 6 trades you got to push through. That's nothing.
I second that.
I third it. I'll do my league. I'm already commissioning.
I'm going to put that. So,
9 leagues. What's another one?
All right. So, Justin, you want to talk about the idea that we came up with? I think we're going to do this, but we need to decide how much the payouts to the first team to have a monster completely taken.
Oh, yeah. So I guess we also have to kind of determine how much the pot is going to be, because we have so many free entries too. I think we're going to give away a total of 10 free entries, right? 2 per division.
Yes.
So you figure 10 buy-ins so that's about so it's going to be 50 buy-ins total. So we got to figure all that stuff, but we definitely do at least want to give their.
Well, they get paid in. So like I cover the entries. So the people that get in for free,
but
it's still in the pot.
I'm also trying to throw out there that we don't do that, because that gets expensive, man. I want to throw out there that we let them actually get in free.
Yeah, I'm okay with because I think some of this goes to charity. I'm okay with at least for one more year. With doing that. So that's what how many? So there's 60 teams times 25. That's $1,500 in the pot.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Go on.
So what are the payouts for first, second, and third, and what are the set payouts right now? I had them up on one of these docs, but
so the payouts were.
I think it was first place for each divisional winner, first place for overall high score, first place overall, second place, and I think that was it. And
so I think it was $150 to the conference winners, so $50 each. So this year it's going to be it'll be $250 to conference winners. 100 went out to the most points scored. 250 went out to the overall league winner, and then we put 250 into charity. So there were. I'm sorry. So we had 750 in the pot. A third of that we put into charity. So a third of 1,500. So $500 is going to go to charity this year, which is going to leave $1,000 to the payouts. So we can decide. I'm going to copy and paste that over onto the main doc so we can, touch on that, now. But Justin, what was going to talk? So we're going to add another payout. we're going to do an additional payout to the first team to have a player at each position taken. So, like, if you lose a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, the first team to lose all those players is going to win money. So that it sucks. You're getting your players taken, but you're gonna make some cash.
Right.
So if you lose, and you have to lose one of each position: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and a tight end.
Yeah.
Correct.
Ooh.
I probably would have won that last season.
It's gonna happen. You know.
I definitely would have won that season 1. All right. So that's going to be one payout. Then we're going to have 5 division winners.
So 1,500 pot. So that's 500 to charity. All right.
We're going to pay to first and second at least again.
So conference we'll still stick with 50 to conference champion, right? So
Right.
that's $5, so that's $250.
Yep.
And then the most points scored, we'll keep it at 100. And then the overall league winner won $250. So $255. So that's $600. So we can bump up the overall league winner. Let's see what it looks like if the overall league winner. So if most points, let's bump that up to 200. So that brings it up to 450. So 5, that's 700. So we have 300 to play with. So we can give another 100 to the overall league winner. So that's 350. So now 350, that's 6, 8. So we have 200 to play with. So do we want to give 50 to
I was thinking
team to have that done?
Yeah. If you have your whole team taken, you get $50.
How much were we paying to second?
I don't think we paid the second. It was the
I
conference.
came in second. And I did get. I'm trying to think.
But you guys split the pot.
Yeah, you're right. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, but I'm
second
pretty
place
sure
did
it was
get
already
something.
in there that second was getting something. It
was. Yeah, no, second place was getting something.
Here,
I mean,
It
we all
was.
have
It wasn't
access.
just that
We
we
all have
split it.
access to the doc. So
yeah.
So
I'm not showing a payout for second.
So
There was a
$50
payout for second.
will go to
Maybe
the
I'm wrong.
first team to have.
So how much do we have left?
Bear with me. Taking.
Bearing with you.
All right. 50 will go to the first team of the player at each position taken from his or her roster.
Nope, you're right. There was no second place payout.
Oh, there wasn't, huh? Okay.
QB, RB, wide receiver, tight end. Okay, so now we have 250 plus 350 is 6, 8. We have 850. So we have 150 to play with. So I mean, we could put 50 into.
What we could do is maybe do $25 to whoever has the highest scoring wide receiver, the highest scoring tight end, the highest scoring quarterback, and the highest scoring running back. That'd be $100
on the season.
Yeah,
but I mean, so because there's going to be 5 divisions, 5 people are going to.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Never mind. Yeah, that the math doesn't add up no more.
What about
the highest scoring kicker?
Yes, definitely the highest scoring kicker.
And Mike chimed in. What about the most points scored against on the season? So like you had some down luck all season. People just
the buy-in. So $25.
So that would be 5. So that's $125.
Oh yeah,
from the pot.
Each division. I'm cool with that.
Is that what we needed? 125 total.
Let me see. So 250, 6, 8, 850. 850 plus 125 is 975. So there's still $25 to play with. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze.
Just give it to me. Nobody second that?
So 125 will go to the team in each division. Sorry, who's it going to?
The whoever has the most points against.
Yeah.
Gets 25.
Most points against.
Give the money to losers now?
Yeah.
So give a third of the money to charity and some little more money to losers.
Yeah, so that's still charity. All right. So
I'm just trying to give myself a
Joe
chance.
sounded more and more like Biff. as the episode goes on. From Back
Okay,
to the
well,
Future.
I'm open to give it to something different. I just spitballing.
How about instead of whoever has the fewest amount of points, how about within each division at the end of the year, whoever had the highest scoring week?
any like one individual week?
One individual, yeah. For the whole year or the whole season, whoever had the highest scoring week within that division gets an extra $25.
Well,
And then of those 5 who had the highest scoring week, whoever had the highest scoring overall for all of the Frankenstank gets an extra $25. So they'll actually get 50 for whoever had the highest scoring week in the entire Frankenstank.
I mean,
better than last place getting money.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
All right, so 125 will go to
because the guy that knows he's not going to get last place.
The team in each division who had the highest scoring week of the year.
Yeah. So within each division, whoever had the highest scoring week on the year gets $25. And then of those 5, whoever had the highest scoring week overall gets an additional $25.
Okay. So 25 will go to the team who had the highest scoring week of the year out of all the divisions.
Yep.
All right. Someone had brought up IDP. So I'm crossing off topics as we go through them. Does it?
I wonder who that was.
It wasn't me.
Oh, really?
No, because I'm the type of guy that I don't think you can add just one player in IDP. Like you either go, at least 5 guys IDP or you don't do it at all. Because if you do one player, everyone's going to have a phenomenal IDP player. So Correct. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
I saw stuff without having those
IDP. IDP is one of those things where you either go all in or you don't go at all.
I also don't like the idea of IDP in a redraft. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know that I've ever seen it. Well, I guess that's kind of what we're about.
Well, let's wait. Once Toilets to Titles has there's an opening for an IDP person. I'm going to take on some of the IDP responsibility this season, but there is an opening. If you're a listener and you love IDP, come, bang on the table for Frankenstank IDP, but you'll join Toilets to Titles. You write some articles, do some podcasts, and then next year you'll have an opportunity to be on this show and then bang the table. We're going to cut it out though this year. No IDP. All right. And if anybody, whoever wanted to do it, you weren't on the episode, so you really couldn't plead your case. So, all right.
It might have been Rich.
Well, Rich, it wasn't Rich.
All right. So I want to do a wild card and tell me what you guys think on this. All right. So I'm going to jump on Justin's Kickers Need Love too. So what if we do a situation to where whoever the lowest scoring team is that week gets to have a kicker for that week?
Wait, what?
Just for 1 week?
Whoever is the lowest scoring
I like this.
the week before.
I do like that. That's a good rule.
For their team
Bravo.
for that week.
Gets to have an extra player.
So 5 teams, all 5 divisions. There's going to be 5 teams total. So we'll open up a kicker spot that nobody gets to use unless they were one of those lowest scoring from the previous
Time
week.
out. This is just as crazy as my suggestion.
Yeah,
and
but
all of you. Yeah, I love it. I love this, Rich. Rich, I am picking up what you're throwing down. I think this is a must-do.
No, logistically, this isn't the same because you can add a kicker spot.
We're adding points
easily
to next week's score when wide receiver.
There you go. We can do it that way too. We can just use the kicker as the
yes. I was about to say that.
No, this is separate. These are separate things. These are separate
no. This is perfect.
We can add 2 kickers. We can add 3 kickers. How many bonuses did you get last week? Oh,
this is perfect. You give the lowest person who scores a kicker, and whatever that kicker scores, they get it added to their score for next week.
And then it's even more hilarious when the kicker gets negative.
All right. So listen. So is this each division? So how are we doing this? So each
division, the lowest scoring team gets to pick a kicker for that next week.
I love it.
To start a kicker.
Now Now, are we going to put the kicker on their bench, or do they have to put the kicker in the starting lineup?
It has to be in the starting lineup.
So they're going to
it's just-
have.
okay.
So say it's 9
like an extra
players
spot.
usually in the starting lineup. It's going to be 10. So it's going to be 10 versus 9.
Correct.
So the lowest scoring team from each division gets to start a kicker for the next week's game.
Yes, I love it. So it's
I
just
love
like
it.
an extra spot.
I love it,
And-
Rich.
And they also get those. We also need to come up with kicker points now too that are crazy. Not super crazy, because I don't want a bonus to be over
18 points per field goal.
All right, listen, it's already 55 minutes into this thing. So I'm going to put underneath this kicker thing, I'm going to put a note that we need to work out kicker scoring. All right?
Okay.
So
Yeah,
we will figure it out.
That's
Have
fair.
faith in us. We will figure it out. All right, I want to get on to the other topics. Allow trades, not happening.
Not
We
happening.
touched on kickers. We're not allowing trades. Someone had mentioned kick return yards.
I like
I
it.
think it should be added to the wide receiver or running back. Yeah, why not?
So we'll need to add. So need to add kick return.
And we'll work out
return
those points as well.
yard bonuses to whoever the player is that has it.
Yeah, we'll work that out later too.
I said there should be a setting in NMFL that you can just go in
Yeah.
and it automatically adds the kick return, punt return yards to the score. So it's not like anything we got to go in and manually set every week.
All right. So and then the last note here was points last year were favorable to wide receivers. Do we want to add more running back tight end bonuses? I already threw that. We're going to bump up tight ends. We'll bump up running backs. So I think we touched on all the ideas and suggestions, but from the brainstorming, do any of you have anything else that you would like to add this year? Or
I was going to add that I want to work kickers in, so I think that this is an amazing compromise.
I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love it, Rich. Rich gets a gold star.
Gold
It's a
star. Yep.
Free bag of Fritos in
Yeah.
Canton.
Yeah, bag of voodoo chips.
Love it.
All right. Anybody got any little Frankenstank tidbits?
So I think we should go over exactly what the changes will be, just
Well,
so there is
here's something
clarity.
from Joshua at Fusion. He typed this in. It says the more bonuses or penalties that you add to quarterbacks, the more it will stretch out the peaks and the lows. So maybe tune down the bonus or penalty, or tune down scoring across the board. I kind of think that having those peaks and lows are kind of a part of it. Like, that's what we love about the Frankenstein.
And we'll just bump the other, position groups up so they have an opportunity to catch up.
Yeah.
Now, George, let me know what you think of this name. But I dubbed that we're gonna figure out how we're gonna work that card in. So we'll brainstorm. So some of this stuff it's not finished yet. All right, this is a process. We only need to get this ready by like July, and the ball's rolling. It's early in the off season. But what you said, the ability to block a player from taking a player from your roster, I'm calling it the silver bullet. We're sticking with the monster theme.
Love it.
You get a silver bullet, and you get to holster that silver bullet, and you can pull it out when you're ready to,
But when do you get that card?
We'll figure that out. It might be. Go ahead. Sorry.
My only other question is, and I'm only thinking about it like Survivor. Can you have more than one silver bullet, or is only one? So if you set a rule that says, "Hey, this is how you get the silver bullet," and then somebody goes out,
should be
2 weeks, they make or meet the requirements for that silver bullet, do they get more than one?
Can you cash in 2 silvers for a gold?
I'm thinking if we're going to allow it to happen more than once, it has to be a crazy thing that never happens. If we're gonna make it something that you can only get once, it could be something that's a little more likely to happen. So we need to decide based upon how likely it is to happen.
So I like the idea of going with a perfect lineup.
Okay.
Or maybe like the highest score that week gets the silver bullet, and if you don't use it, you don't get to keep it. Like there could be only one silver bullet, and every week it just passes on to the next guy.
I kind of like it being attached to some random statistical thing that is kind of a fluke.
So as a guy that sets a perfect lineup every single week after week 8 when all my good players were stolen, I kind of like that one. It'll help get me back in the game.
Right.
Yeah, it's something that's achievable, but the odds of you setting a perfect lineup aren't like they're high, but they're not that high.
After like
Maybe that's how that worked at your old show, George. But here we only set perfect lineups.
All right.
Listen,
So
have you not been listening to Justin this whole show?
No, my problem back then is I was listening to your old show.
listen, so George, I'm putting it in there right now. Perfect lineup gets you a silver bullet ? Because that is going to be what gets you the silver bullet. But we'll bring it into the chat and we'll see if anybody has any other suggestions that we like. But for now, that'll be it. And I also like it because that allows me to do the crazy thing that I wanted to do with any player throwing a touchdown pass. You get points for next week. All right, so we got the kickers worked in. We got the silver bullet worked in. And we're going to have a bonus of some points that you'll start off next week like up 10, right? All right, so I think we got a lot of stuff in here. We got the payouts. We'll still add some more stuff to this. If you want to get in the Listener League, reach out to us at Toilets to Titles. We're giving out 2 free entries, and we'll discuss how we're going to give out those entries. I know we already gave one away to Shane, but now, Justin, what was it that we missed doing last year that someone complained that we need to do at the end of the episode?
We've done it. You just briefly went over all of the rules and clearly stated the ones that we're adding and also clearly stated the ones that we're going to be working on later, but will definitely be a part of it. So we're good to go. Last season, during this episode, we talked about several different rules that we said we were going to touch bases on later, but we didn't actually say they were definitely in effect. This time, we know they're in effect. They know that it's a rule. It's just a matter of at what level with the points and that sort of thing. So it's very clear. We're good to go now.
Now, we are trying to draft for at least one division in Canton. Where we're going to do that draft, what day we're going to do that draft, what time, it is not yet decided. But we do have a group chat on GroupMe, so we want to get you in sooner than later. So inquire about how you want to get in. We need to figure out where we want to do that draft. And what I'm thinking is that's in August. So maybe we'll reconvene in like June. We'll do another roundtable discussion where we'll have finalized all these rules and Frankenstank is set. You know, we got the MFL page up. Everything's set. We're already inputting team names and yada, yada, yada. And then we could bring in, not the baby.
No, we can always bring in the baby.
Yeah, we can bring. So we'll bring on. Maybe we'll also add to the roundtable some of the people who will be at Canton, who will be drafting live, so we can kind of talk strategy and whatnot. So I think that's what we'll do. Everybody, it's been a pleasure having you on. This is always one of my favorite episodes to do. I mean, I was shot this evening, running around all day, been up early the last few days, and I didn't really feel like sitting down and not going to bed. And you know what? As soon as we started talking about this stuff, it got the wheels going. I'm fired up, and I'm really looking forward to year 3. Go ahead, Joe.
Is there going to be a follow-up episode where just all the rules are clearly stated, not debated? Just once they're set on, like these are the rules?
June.
I think that's June.
Yeah.
I think that's so June will be like, boom, this is what it is. It's not debatable. So anybody have any closing thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
No, looking forward to season 3.
Season 3, baby. Here we go.
Frankenstank, or as they say in Germany, Frankenstank.
Yeah,
Frankenstank.
That team name isn't taken. It's available.
I'll sell it for $5 to anyone.
It is available. All right, everybody.
Right now.
Hey, we appreciate you. Thank you for listening. Hopefully, we get a chance to play with you in the Frankenstank League this year. Have a good week. Enjoy free agency. Cowboys, go ahead and get Bobby Wagner and Tyrann Mathieu. That would make my year. All right, that's my wish list. We'll catch you all later on. Take care.